Hey everyone, we are live again. I'm going to give it just a minute to let people join in if they want to. But cheers here at the end of the Bunniversary day. Thank you all. I see some people here have actually were with me earlier in the earlier broadcast. Some new faces, hopefully. This one probably won't be as long as the other one, mainly because I'm exhausted. But we're going to talk a little bit about comics. Once again, Cindy Bunn is running the show behind the scenes. She will try to get to the questions she can. If she doesn't get to your question, it's not because she doesn't like you. It's just that we couldn't get to it. And thanks to Cindy for helping me out here with this one. Yet again. I'll try to do a couple of prizes here during the broadcast. I've still got some prizes over on Twitter. So if you check Twitter, if you haven't seen on Twitter that I'm giving away a set of a full set of the 6 Gunslinger edition graphic novels. You can go on there. There is a tweet that I posted that if you retweet it and follow me, you are in the running for those graphic novels as well. Good luck with it. It's a very nice set of books. I'm also giving away a set of, right now, if you go over and tweet what your you retweet it and name your favorite Cullen Bunn creator-owned comic, I'm giving away a set of Harrow County enamel pins. That's going on right now, like I said, on Twitter. I've given away a couple of things on Facebook. I've given away a couple of things on my Discord channel. And I'll probably do that. Honestly, I'm not able to give everything away today that I have to give away. So I'm probably going to be doing some of it throughout the week. So please keep an eye on Twitter, Facebook, Discord, all that stuff. I'm going to give some more stuff away. I'm going to give some stuff away on my newsletter. I have so many things to give you. So just be on the lookout. And I was thinking and one other thing, just to remind you before we really get into it, just today on the Oni Press web store, if you use the code word Bunniversary, you can get 20% off your entire order at the Oni Press web store. And I think it's stuff, it's not just my stuff, it's across the board. So take advantage of that if you can. It's only through today. So, all right. So like I said, if you have questions, comments, anything, Cindy will be popping them through throughout the broadcast. As I said earlier, today marks 10 years since I went full-time as a writer. So it's a big deal to me because I didn't think it was possible. I still don't think it's necessarily possible, but I've got a lot of cool stuff coming up in the next year, I hope. Things that you guys will think are very cool. I'm going to try to post a few teasers before I finally crash tonight. I'll post some stuff online to give you a hint of some of the new stuff I have coming out. So that said, any questions you have, Cindy will try to throw them up. Tyler is asking if there's any chance on a 6-gun movie. There's always a chance of that stuff. I mean, many of you know that the 6-gun was, we did a pilot for NBC of the 6-gun. It did not get picked up as a TV show. There has been, I keep it as a reminder, I keep the DVD of the first episode right here at my desk at all times. It did not get picked up, but there has been action and activity on it since that time. The only thing I can really tell you right now is, there are things going on. There's definitely movement in different directions. So keep your fingers crossed, keep your hopes up, keep your powder dry, and we'll see what happens. And cheers to the idea of a 6-gun movie or TV show. All right. Justin says, I am awesome. I agree. No, thank you, Justin. I appreciate everybody who picks up my books. Any of my books, you pick up my books, whether it's my creator-owned stuff, my Marvel stuff, my DC stuff, my Valiant stuff, whatever it is. If you're backing, if you're supporting it, I appreciate you. I couldn't be doing this. I wouldn't have been doing this for 10 years without the fans. So thank you so much. Definitely. I'm having an old fashioned tonight. I'm sorry. For some reason, I'm jittery today. So I'm having an old fashioned to calm my nerves in my fancy Bunn branded rocks glass, which I just gave like 4 of these away on my Discord channel. I only have this one here, or I have a whole set of them, but I do. My good friend Jimmy Z Johnston at his store in Cuba, Missouri, Little Shop of Comics, he has all of them right now, and he's taking care of me and sending some out. Dragon Ranger asks if there's any plans to continue the Empty Man. It's again, it's a never say never, but I don't have any plans right now. We did the 3 volumes, and I kind of feel that it wrapped up in a suitable way at the end of those 3. But I'm the kind of guy that whenever I have one of these ideas, I can't help but think of what I'd do next, or how I'd expand on it, or what the sequel might look like. So maybe there's just no plans on it. I can say I'm doing something really cool with Boom right now that I think they're going to be announcing pretty soon. And it's a book that if you liked Bone Parish, you're going to really like this book. So keep an eye out for that. Will we ever see any more Six Gun in the future? More spinoffs, maybe. Maybe. It's tough to say. We did Shadow Roads, which is sort of a spinoff of the Six Gun. And it's right now it's kind of on hold, on hiatus, although I could see us returning to it. If we did, I would probably advocate for us changing the name to the Six Gun, and then subtitle Shadow Roads or something like that. The Six Gun storyline is done, and I don't see ever going back to those characters. I have a lot of cool ideas. I'd love to do a miniseries that is the original Six Gun story that I pitched, which was a much darker, much more horrific 6-issue, very limited miniseries. And I've always wanted to do like a miniseries and call it a Six Gun Original Sin or something like that. But that's not. That's just me dreaming. That's me daydreaming about possible projects. What does the next 10 years look like? Like this, only much more old. But no, a lot more creator-owned work for me. I've got just this year alone, I've got a lot of creator-owned stuff coming out. I'm also doing a lot of that. Someone asked earlier about if I was going to be getting into role-playing game material and things like that, and I am. So I'm going to be doing a lot of really cool things in comics, in role-playing games, in prose, screenplays. I'm diversifying a lot, doing a lot of different kinds of projects and bringing a lot of different kinds of materials. So it's tough for me to say exactly what the next 10 years look like. The same, but a little different. With some natural driving creators asked, with some natural crossover of the characters, Sinestro, Magneto, how much crossover was there for you in writing? It was something I was really worried about because I was writing them at very close, at the same time. And I really wanted to make sure that they were 2 very different books, and the characters were represented very different. And the biggest, and I feel like I was able to keep them fairly different. The biggest differences were, one, on power scale, because my Magneto was very limited on power because of where he was in the Marvel Universe at the time. and Sinestro is super powerful, and cosmic storylines. And then also, Sinestro is a character who thinks he is right. He thinks he is doing the right thing. He really does believe he's the good guy in his story. And Magneto knows he's not the good guy in his story. At least that's how I presented those two characters and how I kept them very different and on divergent paths. Mark says, today was totally awesome. Enjoy reading the tweets and how you start out. Thank you. I thought about tweeting a lot more. I wrote a few tweets that I ended up deleting because I didn't think they served anyone well enough. But yeah, I enjoy sharing that kind of stuff. And just, talking about these different, the different things I've gone through or seen while I've been doing this for 10 years. So Jack asks if I got, that sounded like I said jackass, and it's not Jack. I'm sorry. That was Jack asks, did I get an agent first or did I get into comics and other writing through open submissions? I did not have an agent originally. I broke into comics through just doing it myself. I do have an agent now for comics and prose work, but he doesn't represent me on everything. He represents me on certain projects. But yeah, I did not have an agent when I was getting into comics with, just across the board. Some people do, some people don't. I didn't think it was necessary, at least not early on, until I really got into a lot of the negotiation phase. And then the agent was definitely helpful. Mr. Macabre, I was wondering why earlier today you didn't mention Kane Hodder in a Dark Arc TV show, because you always mention that. I agree. It would be very cool. Although I mean, and who knows? Everybody has different opinions. I kind of see Dark Arc as would be great as an animated thing. I mean, all the different monsters and everything like that. I could see it animated. But I agree with you that Kane Hodder has the right look for Shrek. He needs a longer hair and a big beard. John asked what kind of bourbon. I think this is Woodford Reserve rye. Is there a list of all your works? So yes, Cindy has actually been helping me put this together. It's not a perfect list. I forgot some things that were going to be listed on it. But I'm going to be publishing it out on my website tonight before I hit the sack. And like I said, and then I'll just be updating it over and over again. But yeah, but there's lots of things I missed. Like, for instance, very few people know that I wrote like a series of comics based on self-help books, like the Book of Five Rings and the 80-20 Principle and Think and Grow Rich, which was weirdly, that was my dad's favorite thing I worked on. And the 50th Law. So I did all these sort of self-help comic book adaptations that I forgot to list on that list. So it'll be a growing list, but it's going to include everything that I did when it's all said and done. Right now, it's still 30-something pages in length. It's a very big list of all my projects, both prose and comics and everything else. Brendan, where can you buy that glass? Tell you what, keep an eye on Twitter and Facebook. I'll post links to where you can get them when I'm sure. I could just tell you, but I'm not 1,000% sure that store is up and running right now. So give me a little bit, and I'll post some stuff this week about where you can find them. Promise. Comic guy Steve says, how do you sleep at night with images like those in regression running through your head? I'm not sure, but did you notice that I'm having a nice old fashioned right now? that's how I do it. I just, drink myself into an oblivious state. I don't know that stuff, the stuff I write is about things that scare me, things that worry me, but very rarely does it scare me at night when I'm sleeping. Now, a new nightmare, something that wakes me up in the dead of night scaring me, may inspire some new comic or story. And that's, in a way, that's how I exercise those fears, is by writing them down. I think horror fiction is very cathartic in that respect. You can write these stories and kind of, exercise all those fears and worries. It's not all the bourbon. Stephen, Bone Parish should be a Netflix series. Man, you need to tell Netflix that. Tell Netflix and everybody else. David asks, how do I pick artists for my books? So it's different depending on the kind of book I'm doing. If it's a Marvel or DC book, for instance, usually they come to me and say, here's some artists we'd like to work on this book. And I may have some suggestions for it, but I can't, I don't have final say. With creator own, either I find an artist in advance, or the publisher and I work together to find an artist. And in some cases, it's like the Six Gun, Brian Hurt was a friend of mine. We worked together. We knew each other. We'd done The Dam together. So we were friends before we started working together in comics. And then I met people, and I talked to artists about working on projects together, and, we go from there. Sometimes the publisher recommends artists. For instance, Bone Parish, which we talked about earlier, Jonas Scarf was a recommendation for that series, and I liked working with him so much. We're now working on another series that will be announced soon. So that's, and it all depends. The most important thing, as I said earlier, is if they're excited about the work, if they're engaged, because the more everybody in the process is engaged, the better the project ends up being. Any upcoming appearances at cons or live events? Nothing scheduled right now. And I don't know when that'll be. It's, I miss signing in shops, and I have a list of shops that I'll be, that are like right at the top when I feel safe and I think it's gonna be safe for everybody to be there. And then conventions at some point. I'm gonna change my approach to conventions a little bit the next time I go. Not necessarily because of COVID, just because of how I've done conventions in the past and how exhausting they are. But at some point soon, I saw someone ask in the feed. I saw someone say something about Little Shop of Comics, and if I'd be signing there again anytime. And yeah, it's one of the top few on my list when things are safer again. That's one of the top places I want to go do a signing at. Anton asks, is the cat more powerful than the dragon? So Anton is referring to the Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I run every week, where he plays a cat and another player plays a dragon man, and they bicker about who's the most powerful. I don't know. It depends on who you ask. It all depends on the dice, to be honest. What's the story with Justin asked, what's the story about how I got linked to write the new Shadow Man? So Shadow Man's a character I really feel I was in many ways destined to write. He's right in my wheelhouse for those kind of characters. And Heather Antos, who works is an editor at Valiant, had just started with Valiant, and we had worked together on numerous comics in the past. And she knew she's a horror fan. She knew I was into horror, and she always wanted to do a horror book with me at Marvel, and we just could never get it off the ground. So she messaged me on Twitter and said, hey, do you have any interest in Shadow Man? And I was yes, 1,000 times yes. And it's been such an awesome project. I mean, I mentioned earlier about people being engaged. Everybody's in it to win it on that book, and it's going to be so cool. So you have until April 5th to pre-order that at your local comic shop. Don't miss out on it because it's going to be really good. If you've never read a Shadow Man book before, you can read it and enjoy it and you'll love it. If you've read Shadow Man and you're a big longtime fan, you will like this book. You'll enjoy where it's going. So just don't miss out on this book, though. Is there any chance to any of your works getting the animated treatment like Six Gun or Harrow County? Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance, and I've been working with animation studios on a lot of different projects, and it could definitely happen. There is nothing in the works on the animation side with either of those properties right now, but there's definitely, I'm definitely messing around with some animation stuff right now. So it could happen. It all just depends on what's right for the project, what's right at the time for the studios and the production companies. Are you more focused on creator-owned material now instead of work for hire? I'm definitely doing more creator-owned stuff right now. Valiant with Shadow Man, and any of the books I do with Shadow Man or with Valiant, those are my work for hire books right now. I just did Cyberpunk, for instance, and I'm doing a tie into the Black Hammer universe, Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer universe, and those are work for hire projects. But for the most part, almost other than Valiant, I'm doing creator owned right now. That's not to say I won't do something work for hire. It all depends on if someone offers me a project, or we talk about a project that is right for me and I feel like I can contribute to it and is on brand for me, I'll absolutely entertain that idea. Your Moon Knight run really changed how I saw the character. Loved it. How did you feel picking up where Ellis left off? I enjoyed working on that series. Moon Knight is, I tweeted about it earlier. Moon Knight's one of the first things I ever pitched to Marvel. So I've always loved the character. Going into Moon Knight, I knew I only had 5 issues. So that was the marching order, is you have 5 issues to do what you want to in this series. So I wanted to do every issue as a standalone story, and I kind of approached it. The original pitch I had given to Marvel was for a series called The Macabre Moon Knight, and I kind of did that with those 5 issues. I could have done more, but it was a lot of fun to do just those 5. I see a lot of people asking if things are starting again. I'll instead ask, has there been anything you wished you finished earlier? That sounds like a dangerous question, Pip. I don't know. Most of the time, I feel like I'm always a little disappointed when projects end. The Six Gun, Harrow County, I knew exactly where those projects would end. And almost always, every other project I have bigger plans for, I want to do more with, or I have to finish it up sooner than I intended for various reasons. There might be a few projects out there I wish I hadn't taken, but we don't need to go into that. What's your favorite line from the movie The Thing? And I'm going to get the line wrong at this point, probably, but I love when they're doing the test with the blood, and after the thing erupts and goes crazy, and everybody's in a panic, and he says, "Would you please get me out of this goddamn chair?" I like that part quite a bit. Oh, hey, Anchor Pete. Have you adapted any of your original RPGs into comic scripts or prose? If so, what was that like? I'm trying to think if I have done that. No, not really. There's a project I'm working on that isn't an adaptation of a RPG I ran, but it is inspired by several RPGs I ran over over the years and years back. It's inspired by some stuff I did with that. And then I'm doing some projects in the near future that are going to really fuse comics and role-playing games in some interesting ways. But the role-playing game isn't so much the comic isn't so much an adaptation of, say, a module in the role-playing game. Any chance you'll ever republish your work from Future Quake? Maybe. I looked for it today. I was going to post it on Twitter and I couldn't find it. So maybe. I only did like a 5-page story in Future Quake, and then the very back page was like a 1-page comic. And I really liked the 1-page comic, and I was looking for that today when I was gonna post it. Maybe one day. I don't know. I have to find the materials. What areas of horror are you looking forward to digging into the future? I want to explore all of these different subgenres of horror. Shadow Man really allows me to play in many different subgenres of horror. I'm doing a horror romance in Eden, which is coming out from Aftershock, which is really exciting to me. I'm doing sort of some psychic horror with a book called Phantom on the Scan from Aftershock. But yeah, for sure. It's hard for me to name one right now. I would love to do any of those, any story, any horror story. I'm all in on all the subgenres. All of them are mine. If Planet Comic-Con happens in August, will you be in attendance? I'm not sure yet because I haven't looked at my schedule to see what's going on or where I'm going to be. I love Planet Comic-Con. It's probably my favorite convention, but it's too soon for me to tell on a number of fronts. One, I just don't know what's going on in life in general, and two, I want to make sure that I personally feel 1,000% safe and that everybody at the convention is safe. But maybe I don't know yet. August, I guess, isn't that far away, is it? I'll have to look at my calendar. Would you possibly work on television scripts? So I actually wrote the pilot script for a Harrow County TV show. It ended up not getting picked up, but I did write the pilot for Harrow County. I have written a number of feature film and TV scripts at this point. Some are in production, and sometimes those wheels move slow and sometimes those wheels move fast. But I'm definitely going to be doing more of them in the future, for sure. Jacob asks if I ever thought about returning to Battlestar Galactica with a story set during or around the reimagined series. I may lose some points with everybody here. I never watched the reimagined Battlestar Galactica. I watched one episode and I wasn't feeling it because I was such a nostalgia nerd for the original Battlestar Galactica from when I was a kid. I just didn't get into the series. And everybody has told me how awesome it is and I should check it out. And I probably will at some point, but I don't know enough about it to tell you. I did, at one time when I was doing Battlestar Galactica, we had talked about doing a big series that was like a time travel crossover thing. And I know they ended up doing something like that. It never happened when I was writing it. Michael asks if I had any ideas for another Godzilla story. Absolutely do. I've pitched them, and it's just it's never come together. I'd love to do another Godzilla story. I love Godzilla. He's anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and I would love to write more Godzilla. And when another Godzilla comic comes out written by someone else, I will be jealous and angry over it because it should be me. I'll read it too, but Jack, do you have a dream project or character in the universes of the big two that you haven't written? Yeah, it's always going to be one of the horror characters. Werewolf by Night, Man Thing, Swamp Thing, Hellblazer, Demon, Clarion the Witch Boy, Night Force, Legion of Monsters, the Night Stalkers, all of those characters. And the most recent thing I put together was a pitch for a new Night Stalker series that would have been awesome. I mean, the biggest thing was, one of the big drawbacks of these horror characters is it's hard to sell them because people don't know who they are. But this version, such a good pitch, and it had magic from the X-Men in it. It had Punisher was in it, but then it had, the other common Night Stalker characters. Oh, and the Macabre Moon Knight, of course. It would have been a great series. It just didn't catch fire, I guess. Didn't light anybody's socks on fire. So Morgan says that listening to me is very inspiring. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. You make me want to draw and write dark stories swirling your head. I love the stories you read by you and art by Tyler Croak. I'm telling you, if I can do it, anybody can. So if you are inspired to tell these stories, go forth and do it. Don't let anybody tell you not to do it. So get it done. Just watched The Empty Man. Okay, so you watched the movie, you haven't read the comics. Definitely read the comics. They're quite different. They're a different story, but I think you'll enjoy the comics and you can compare the two. If you like the movie, it sort of has a mood similar to the comics. Have you ever considered writing Call of Cthulhu module akin to it? I haven't thought about writing an official Call of Cthulhu module, especially not one tied to The Empty Man or one of my other works. But stay tuned for some of the role-playing stuff I've got going on. Interestingly enough, years ago, before I had anything published, I was hired to write a Call of Cthulhu supplement. And I got that job on a whim. I heard at a little convention that they might need someone to help them with this setting for Call of Cthulhu. And I went home and wrote a letter and sent it in, and they immediately said, "Yes, you're hired." And I blew that project so badly. I mean, it was just terrible how badly I botched that project. I just wasn't ready at the time to do something, especially not something that detailed and big. And I just messed it up. It's a badge of shame for me. Thanks for bringing that up. Just kidding. It is a badge of shame, but you didn't bring it up. I don't need anybody to tell me to be ashamed. So we're gonna, I've got a few more minutes to do this. This one's gonna be shorter than the one I did earlier, probably, but I've got a few more minutes. We can do some questions, a few more questions. Have you ever thought of writing a book series in your genre? I'm not sure what. Oh, you mean like a horror book series? Yes, absolutely. And I toy around with a lot of prose. I've got some novels in the works right now. The difficulty being, I'm so much faster with comics, and comics pay the bills. So it's hard for me to dedicate the time I really want to dedicate to prose right now. Although slowly but surely it's happening. Any plans for you and Hopeless to work together on anything other than YouTube? Disappointed that you didn't have a story in the Deadpool Nerdy 30. Love all of the Bunn books. Honestly, they brought me back to my local comic book shop. I was disappointed about that too, but that's all right. Whatever. Um, as far as me and Hopeless working on something together, yeah, maybe. I don't know. That guy's the worst. He's just the worst. So I don't know if I could. I don't know. We might kill each other if we have co-written a few things together. I just feel like we'd kill each other if we tried it again. I'm just kidding. I love Dennis, but there's just nothing in the works right now. Would you like working with established folklore for some horror stories or original messed up stuff from your mind? I like both. I like established folklore. I'm actually working on some interesting official folklore type material right now that I think will be pretty exciting. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I like both. I really my favorite thing to do is to take bits and pieces of folklore and then twist them in my own ways and do my own thing with them. Is there a franchise you've always wanted to do a story in? I could see you doing a story in the Evil Dead universe, for example. Yeah, I'd love to do an something in the Evil Dead universe. I mean, I did an Army of Darkness book, but I'd still like to do something a little, I don't know. And it was fine. I just don't know that it felt exactly like what I wanted for, the Evil Dead universe. I would probably say, I said earlier, Phantasm is the one I would really love to do something in. Democratized brand is amazing, and I must say, whoever came up with the idea of putting a short story on the backing board, that was amazing. I can't take credit for it. That was all Jimmy Z. Johnston's idea. He had this idea of printing a one-page comic story on the backing board of the comic, and I told him he was absolutely crazy to even consider doing it, and he was determined and he made it happen. And now and then when I saw it, I was like, wow, how come more people aren't doing these? And we're we'll be doing the next ones. We'll also have them as well because it was a great idea. So all credit on that to Jimmy Z. It was his idea. What is the book's best title that you've ever come up with, and why is it definitely Knights Temporal? It is a good title. It's a great title. I want to say my buddy Anton helped me come up with that title. Now that I think about it, I hate coming up with titles, and I think we were brainstorming titles and kicking them back and forth, and he helped me come up with Knights Temporal. But yes, that's up there. It's a pretty clever turn of phrase. Will Punk Mambo find her way into Shadow Man? Oh, and by the way, Anton just texted me to say he did. So there you go. I was right. My memory served me correctly. Will Punk Mambo ever find her way into Shadow Man? All things, let's keep hoping the book, if the book lasts to where I want it to go, yes. There will be some Punk Mambo and Shadow Man connectivity. It's all dependent on people reading it and enjoying it and wanting more of it. Are there any other Archie horror properties you would be interested in tackling? Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of new things that I had wanted to develop with Archie on their horror front, and I'm doing some Archie stuff in the future. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything I'm not supposed to spoil. Who would be in your Legion of Monsters? So it's got to be Man-Thing. It's got to be Morbius. We've got to have Werewolf by Night, The Living Mummy, maybe Satana. I don't know. That's off the top of my head. Those all sound good. If I were to sit down and write a list, it'd probably be 30 or 40 different characters that I'd want to be in that Legion of Monsters. Maybe a Brood. No Name of Brood might be awesome in that as well, to give it a little variety, something a little interesting. Do you want to write more sci-fi or kaiju stuff in the future, like what Higgins is doing with Ultraman? Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. Who knows if it's going to happen? It's probably going to end up being my own thing. I would imagine, but I'd absolutely love to write any of that stuff. Since you like a good old-fashioned, if you have any of that silverback honey rye left over, it makes a great smoked old-fashioned. And thank you for that silverback honey rye. I don't have much of it left over, but doing a smoked old-fashioned is next on my list of things to try, though. It's I gotta get the little smoker thing. Cindy won't drink a smoked beverage, I don't think, but I'd like to try it. All right, we got time for maybe 3 or 4 more questions, Cindy. So if we have any good ones, send them my way, or bad ones, whatever. We're not judging the quality, just that they're there. Who wins in a chainsaw fight, Q or Dennis Hopeless? Q's going to take him down. Right. See, what's going to happen is he's going to swing it, and Dennis is going to duck the chainsaw, and it's going to take his hair off. And everyone knows that Dennis Hopeless's strength is all in his hair. And then that's it. It's over. Battle won. Point to Q. Six Gun. If there was an animation series, who would you fan cast as Drake? Oh, man. So it's just the voice. It could be anyone. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I'll have to think on that. I'll have to consider all the possibilities. Timothy Oliphant seems to be right to me, but I may change my mind if I think about it. So Blake says that he remembers I was struggling with nightmares, and did any of those ever influence any of your stories? And they weren't just nightmares. They were like night hallucinations, and they were the most god-awful things ever. And I ended up putting some pennies on my door frame to keep out bad spirits. Another recommendation from my pal Anton. And it actually helped. Who knew? Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's hard for me to pick a direct influence, like the one thing that really, like this happened and it put it in a story, but anything like that will eventually work into something I'm writing for sure. All right, one more question, and then we're finished. I'm finished with all of you. Until the next time I do one of these. Yeah, Godzilla versus Kong. Who's your pick? So that movie comes out in what, 2 weeks? Godzilla takes it, right? Godzilla's got to. I know King Kong's got this awesome battle axe that has a Godzilla spike driven in, back spike driven into the handle. But we're talking about Godzilla here, people. He's the king of all monsters. He's not just the king of Skull Island. He's the king of monsters. My sincere, what I really would love to see is that Godzilla and Kong team up against something even bigger and badder. That's what I hope happens. But I don't know. I will literally be on the edge of my seat. And it will be like Game of Thrones Red Wedding if Godzilla loses that fight for me. So just keep that in mind. I will be livid. I will be beside myself. And I love both Kong and Godzilla. Always have, always will. But this isn't King Kong's not getting struck by lightning like he did in the original Kong versus Godzilla. He got struck by lightning, got strong. I guess the lightning now is an axe with a Godzilla spike in the back. But Godzilla should take this one. Hear me now. I know everyone loves a monkey, but Godzilla should take this fight. And on that note, I'm going to call it a night. Thank you all so much for joining me on this. Thank you for the questions. I'm going to do some questions on Twitter tonight. I've got a few more prizes to give out. I forgot to give out any prizes during this, and I am sorry. But check out Twitter, and we'll give some prizes away there. And we'll and like I said, I've got more of these. I'm going to do more of these coming in the next week or so. So or more prizes out there, and I'll be doing more of these live broadcasts too. So thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you all very, very soon.